we've got the latest update from PolyMarket. Now, this is not yet reacted. The interview just dropped, so most people haven't seen it. But already Donald Trump is up 17 points on PolyMarket. 17 in aggregate on RCP. Trump is up 16.4 points.
Oh my gosh!
Crap! Dude.
Just remember, everyone watching. Betting odds don't vote. Polls don't vote. You have to get out there. We got to act like we're behind.
And understand the aggregate betting odds may say Trump 57.7, Harris 41.3, but the winning margin for Trump might be negative.
Yeah.
He might lose the popular vote and win the electoral college.
Exactly.
So this is not a poll. It doesn't work the same way.
And you got to remember too, election night 2020. I remember CNN, Fox News, they were reporting on the betting odds, and Trump was like in the 90s odds to win.
Good point.
Until the midnight 2 a.m., 3 a.m. trucks of votes came in, and it flipped.
Yeah.
That's how.
Imagine making a bet on Joe Biden at midnight when you're at
He's set for
20
life.
times odds. You're like, wow, 20 to 1 on my bet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm seeing some coverage. I know Axios had a story like this today saying, well, here's 3 realities if Trump were to win, because some of it is if Trump wins, but the House and Senate are blue, he's stuck for 2 years. If that one chamber is blue and the other one's red, maybe a little bit better, still not super effective. And so, while Kamala Harris may not be able to defeat Donald Trump, the down ticket push, people who are saying she's a weak candidate, therefore I need to make sure my senator, my congressman, my governor are Democrats, might become stronger. And so there's I know why all of our eyes are on the top of the ticket, but we have to think strategically.
Yeah. And I honestly, I think the biggest win for the left would be to let Donald Trump win, because they got so much done in the 4 years that he was president in terms of organizing and agitation and violence and that's how they get stuff done, through political violence. And his presidency caused such a reaction culturally and politically on the left. I think that they would stand to win a lot if he was reelected.
Here's the latest Real Clear Politics no toss-up projection. Trump Vance 302 to Kamala to Harris Waltz 236. So this is obviously, if we do the ratings, right now there's 104 electoral toss-ups. But based on the polling lean of these states, if we remove the toss-ups, right now, based on polling, if the polling stands, if the election happened right now based on polling, Trump wins PA and Michigan and Ohio, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada.
Okay, what if you give him Michigan and Pennsylvania? I'm curious.
Gave Trump Michigan and Pennsylvania?
Yeah, give those to Kamala.
Oh,
Michigan
okay.
and Pennsylvania.
So if Michigan and Pennsylvania go Kamala, she wins.
Well, but
she wins by 2.
So here's the thing, though. Right now in the polling, Philly is, and Pennsylvania as a whole, are leaning, or not Philly.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry. What Real Clear Politics is not factoring in is the one electoral vote from Nebraska, which would make it 269.
Which is even more in play because they just ruled that felons are allowed to vote in. There's this whole dispute over at Nebraska. And so the area that is most likely to lean blue is even more in play than ever, despite the fact that most of the state is red.
Funniest possible outcome.
Hey,
it would actually be horrifying.
What's Elon's law?
Oh, the funniest possible outcome is the one that will happen?
Yep.
Oh, man. No. Well, here's what I think is going to happen. So right now, it is true that in many of the swing states, Trump is up. But as soon as people in those swing states see this interview and learn that the reason that 13,000 murderers and about 11,000 sex criminals that we know of were let into this country isn't Biden or Kamala's fault, it's actually because Trump is running for president, then they'll all vote for Kamala.
Well, because what happened was Trump stood up and he rode down the escalator for the second time and said, I'm going to run for office. And then instantly the border barriers exploded and, people just started jumping 20 feet in the air over them and running in, and it's because Trump said those words.
It's his fault. It's his fault.
Yes,
Which, it's hilarious, too, because everybody knows.
Wait. Hold on. I'm sorry. As soon as Trump announced that he was running for president, it was so exciting to everyone in the world that they all ran full speed to try and bask in the glory of a Trump presidency. I get it. I get it.
Part of what's hilarious, though, is that in 2020 and 2021, after Biden had been elected and was sworn in, so in 2021, when the border crisis really began, one thing that basically every pundit or commentator or journalist recognized was that part of the reason that people were pouring over the border was because of the rhetoric that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were running on. So realistically, if you actually could blame someone who was just running for president and not elected for a crisis, it would be Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on the border.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But they always accuse you of what they're doing.
I really do feel like Trump has won the argument at this point. You know, there's no way Kamala Harris goes on Joe Rogan. They've lost control of the narrative. They're not pulling back from this. There's no interview she can do. There's nothing that will allow her to recover from this. She kept saying in this interview, my economic plan is going to do this. And I was like, Brett, please ask her what's her plan.
I know.
What
The fact that he did, but this is what I'm saying. He was not going after her like a pit bull. These were really basic questions. These were really easy questions, and there were things he did let her get away with.
I wish he would have gone
her.
after her, particularly about that line she kept using about Trump promising to use the military on American citizens, which is a complete fabrication.
It's total nonsense.
Total nonsense.
Just like Trump grabbing the wheel of the Secret Service's SUV on January 6th. Do you remember that? That they were claiming that?
That was, what was that, Cassidy Hutchinson?
Yeah, they even did a comic strip,
they said,
they did illustrations of it.
They said that Donald Trump grabbed the steering wheel of the vehicle he was in. The only problem is he was in the Beast, and it has a barrier between the driver and him for security reasons. And so I'm like, did Donald Trump phase through solid matter to do this? What is the world they live in? But Kamala Harris gets... I suppose it's just simple to say, if they don't have lies, they have nothing else.
Exactly.
And that's why they come up with these stories. When she said in the interview that Donald Trump said he would arrest those who disagree with him over and over again, do you want to know the origin of this? Donald Trump said, okay, let's start from the beginning. Kamala Harris goes on CBS. CBS puts up a clip of the interview. Instantly, we start seeing the betting odds shift in favor of Donald Trump. Massive waves of criticism saying, wow, she looks stupid. CBS airs a different version of the answer. People noticed that CBS went in later and edited the clip. For some reason, her answer was different. Trump says, along with many other commentators, that this was collusion between the news organization and Kamala Harris.
Yes.
Trump then says that should be illegal for a presidential candidate to collude with the media so that they give her preferential treatment and try and make her look better. Should be a crime. She should be disqualified. She should be in jail. Then Bill Maher goes, did you hear this? That Donald Trump said she should be in jail for going on CBS? Then Kamala Harris goes, he's saying he wants to arrest people who disagree with him. Oof. The origin is, and you don't look, by all means, say Trump is wrong to say that. You're allowed to. I'm not saying he's right. He said a corporate news outlet colluding with a candidate for favorable coverage should be criminal. Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe you think he's not right. Okay, that's fine. Tell me that. But when they play this game of Purple Monkey Dishwasher, where they just say garbled. Okay, I have said this before. I'll say it again. The left is an ant death spiral. You ever see those?
Yep.
Ants follow pheromones of other ants, and that's how they know where the food is. But if an ant loops around in a circle, the other ants start looping in a circle, and they all walk around in one circle until they die of starvation. Because they're only following the scent. They don't know where they're going. This is what liberals are doing. Kamala Harris now says to Brett Baer, Trump says that he's going to use the military and American people and arrest those who disagree with him. Now some 60-year-old woman who watched this or who watches MSNBC is calling her friends, be like, Trump's going to arrest people for disagreeing with them? And this is where the Purple Monkey Dishwasher takes off.
Who was it that oh my gosh, there was some official who was saying that Trump could use special forces against his enemies? Which the most hilarious part of that is the idea that any of Trump's political opponents would necessitate the use of SEAL Team 6. we gotta get Adam Schiff and Rosie O'Donnell. Better bust out the special forces. But it's all complete and total nonsense. They have literally gone after him with transparent political prosecutions. They have redefined laws, the severity of the punishment for those laws once they're broken, and the statute of limitations just to go after him in New York. Everyone knows this. Everyone sees what they're doing, and they're going to turn around and say Trump wants to use the military on American citizens. It's nonsense. If Donald Trump wanted to do that, right? If Donald Trump was going to use the military against his political opponents, if that was ever something he was interested in doing, you would think when he supposedly attempted a coup and he was the commander-in-chief of the United States military at the time that he was supposedly attempting this coup, he would have done it then. But no, instead, even though he had that power, he tried to quote-unquote overthrow the U.S. government by dog-whistling to a crowd of unarmed boomers to walk into the Capitol and chant.
Okay, here's what I think. in this country, we have two factions, principal factions, adults and children.
Yeah.
And I think it's a fair way to put it. Now, unfortunately for Democrat voters, they have a tendency to be the children in this equation. Not all of them, but most of them. The Republicans, the tendency to be the adults in the room, but some of them are quite children. And I mean that children, I don't mean that literally. I mean they're immature and they lack understanding. They're naive. And so what I mean by this is, on the Republican side, you have former Democrats, many of them, 9 million Democrats switched from the Democratic Party to vote for Trump in 2016. And we've seen that trend actually continue quite a bit. RFK Jr. shaking Donald Trump's hand is a huge sign. The Cheneys joining up with Kamala Harris is, I don't know what that is. That's weird. But sure. So what I see now, and I'm going to shout out Piers Morgan, because you may have seen, I did that interview. I don't know if you guys saw it, or the Uncensored show. And I'm getting, a lot of people are hitting me up being like, sir, how did you manage this? Because I'll give you one example. This show starts off with Piers Morgan saying Trump is doing badly with women. Kamala is doing badly with men. And I said, I think, I gave a little bit of a statement ending with, I think many women will hold their nose to vote for Donald Trump, but I do think there's a lot of men who are just sexist, do not want to vote for a woman no matter what. And I don't know how Kamala overcomes that. All of a sudden, this woman is just screaming my name, yelling at me, accusing me of being a COVID denier, who then got COVID and took ivermectin, which none of which aligns in reality. I never denied COVID. I always said, talk to your doctor. I never was anti-vax. I was never pro-ivermectin. Anybody could watch into my videos. That was always the case. But they live in this reality where they get their information from snippets out of context, or they heard it from a friend. This is why I say they're children. The adults in the room say, let me look into that. Let me check. So and this is a tendency, not absolute. There are certainly right-wingers who are children and just believe whatever they hear. I can't tell you how many people told me that they thought that the government was making hurricanes. And I'm like, okay, guys, let's calm down a little bit. But for the Democrats, their high-level commentators say things that they heard from a friend as fact. And on the right, the high-level commentators pull up the DOJ and they pull up the New York Times and use these as references. I've always made an important point on this show and a morning show to pull up the article I am reading from. And I tell you this, still, when I read an article from the Star Tribune that said Ilhan Omar, and this is a quote, not from me, may have married her brother, I said, wow, I can't believe the Star Tribune has reported that. Media Matters then ran an article saying Tim Pool claims, or Tim Pool says or something, Ilhan Omar married her brother, which I never did. But they don't. The people who fall for Media Matters tricks, the people who fall for this manipulation aren't smart enough to do the actual research. They sit in their lounge chairs watching CNN going, whoa, while the rest of us are trying to figure out what's really going on. The problem, they vote too.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.